Welcome back to the Alec Lewis Show. I'm your host, Alec Lewis. This is episode 135, recording on Tuesday afternoon, December 16th. The Vikings are on a 2-game win streak. How about that? The Vikings beat the Dallas Cowboys at AT&T Stadium, on Sunday night. I was there in person eating a bunch of taffy in the press box because for some reason at Jerry World, they have a candy dispenser in the press box, and it was a good time. Really enjoyed it. Thank you guys for being here. If you're new and watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. It helps us out a ton. If you're listening on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, wherever you get your podcasts, you can rate, review, follow, and that stuff helps us out as well. Going to take your questions, ask for them on social media earlier on Tuesday. Have had conversations at this point with Kevin O'Connell, with Wes Phillips, the offensive coordinator, with Brian Flores, and with Matt Daniels, the special teams coordinator, and others, obviously, internally, have watched the film, have looked at a lot of the data, and put everything into perspective that I feel like is worthwhile to allow me to give you guys the most intel-driven possible podcast in the Viking sphere. So, thank you guys to those of you who passed along questions. A lot of subjects. J.J. McCarthy, cap space for 2026. Ryan Kelly, the offensive line. Everything and anything, we'll probably get to it over the course of this show. So thank you guys for being here. We are presented by First Resource Bank. If you don't know about it, that is a member FDIC bank in the Minneapolis area run by really good people. Tim Siegley, Aaron Siegley, Charlie Anderson. They are ecstatic about the team and J.J. McCarthy in particular showing some signs the last couple weeks to get you jazzed up. So please go check out First Resource Bank. Again, great people, really care about the community, and they really enjoy watching this team just like you guys do, so go check them out. The information is in the description. All right, let's get right into questions. Not going to waste any of your time on this Tuesday afternoon. And the first one comes from Aaron. Aaron asks a question, really, that is worth getting to from the outset. Aaron Sadlow, at Aaron Sadlow, frequent listener, appreciate that. First time asker, appreciate that as well. Are there any nuanced perspectives on why Justin Jefferson has been the main guy struggling with J.J. McCarthy the last couple weeks? And this is Aaron talking. He's faced harder coverage like normal, but there have been quite a few passes he hasn't completed that he normally has. And that's the first place I'll start here, Aaron, is there have definitely been some plays this season that Justin Jefferson is going to want back. And that really goes back to week 1 in Chicago. Like, there were aspects of Justin's performance in that first game that seemed to be atypical from what we've all come to expect from a Justin Jefferson operation in terms of route running, pass catching, really all aspects. Like, I remember in that game, there was a play I think it was on a third down near the sticks where Justin Jefferson caught the ball on a little comeback, but he wasn't at the sticks, and he needed to be for the Vikings to convert a first down. There was a little out route in that first game of the season that was maybe a little bit of a low pass, but one, again, that you'd expect Justin Jefferson to make. And then you go to, bring it all the way through and come to week 15, Sunday at AT&T Stadium in Dallas or Arlington or wherever in the land of Dallas that is as spread out as can possibly be. And you had the 3rd and 1 attempt late in the third quarter in the end zone. And Justin Jefferson, he's lined up in the slot on the left side. He runs a little corner route toward the end zone. J.J. McCarthy puts it on him, and Justin Jefferson is unable to make the catch. Now, Justin Jefferson, after the game, said that the ball was coming in hot, and it was, Kevin O'Connell phrased it as like he definitely put some sauce on it in the press conference. And for sure, there was a lot of space there. J.J. McCarthy could have put some more touch on the ball. And I know, there are a lot of people who probably don't want to hear that. And it's not making excuses for Justin Jefferson because he's not a guy who's paid to come up with excuses when the ball is on him. But there's just, it's an aspect of some of these passes and drops throughout the course of this year where like the best way I know how to describe it is like sometimes it's just not the most catchable ball. But again, if you're Justin Jefferson, like it's not supposed to matter if it's catchable enough. You're supposed to make the catch. So that's definitely one aspect of it, Aaron. Like what I would say to kind of, you want a nuanced perspective with this question entirely. So that's what I'm going to try to give you, even if it's not maybe like what everyone wants to hear all the time. That's just not the job. I'd say with Justin Jefferson compared to a Jordan Addison or a Jalen Naylor or a TJ Hawkinson, it is harder to get him into space. You guys might be sitting there thinking like, why? Why? He's a receiver. Can't you just run a slant? Yeah, I mean, there are definitely times where a slant seems possible and Justin Jefferson would have to beat a guy off press, or you got to put the ball on him as a quarterback, and that would work. Like, there's no question that stuff exists. But with as much as opposing teams cloud him, meaning put a safety over the top, for as much as like the coverage, linebackers even tilt towards him, it just makes it, you almost, the best way I know how to describe this is you almost have to have like a bespoke passing game. Think of it like, you know, you have to have a custom type of operation to make things work for Justin Jefferson. And so like that often takes, design to be able to put him in certain spots. It takes the quarterback being able to, have the aptitude both in the plan and in real time to kind of weed out some of the space that the defenders are kind of occupying where Justin Jefferson is on the field. And then it takes certain throws to fit balls into windows with anticipation and accuracy that maybe it's a little more complex than just guy is open in space. So it should, with the way defenses try to defend Justin, there's less space, and you just have to be more on your P's and Q's because there's just less room for error. Like a great example that I kind of found in the game is there was a second quarter, 2nd and 13, I believe it was, and the corner is kind of pressed up on Justin. Justin beats him to the inside, kind of on an in-breaker over towards the middle of the field. And J.J. McCarthy hits his back foot, and he's looking at Justin Jefferson. And what you'd prefer to happen is J.J. just rips it to Justin kind of right once he hits it, his back foot and in stride, and that potentially becomes yards after catch for Justin Jefferson. J.J. McCarthy does not get rid of the ball right when he hits the top of his drop, and then has to kind of dance around in the pocket. And J.J. McCarthy eventually makes a really good play, kind of flushing from the pocket and throws the ball to T.J. Hawkinson on the left sideline, and it becomes a 13-yard gain, and that's great. Like, you're moving the ball forward, you're finding completions, you're making something happen. But, like, I can't say he made something out of nothing because he had something if he got rid of the ball on time and in rhythm to Justin Jefferson. So that's like another aspect of it. And then part of the nuance also is some of the like inconsistencies with J.J. McCarthy's accuracy have come on attempts to Justin Jefferson. And that's just kind of an unfortunate aspect. Now, the obvious miss on Sunday night, the little crossing route and man coverage, wide open, angling toward the right sideline, that pass that J.J. McCarthy missed, he definitely feels pressure kind of in his face, which probably affected the accuracy of the throw. So it wasn't like just the ultimate clean pocket and J.J. McCarthy sails it the way we've seen him sail it over the course of this season. That said, there was so much space toward the right sideline that if there is any touch and kind of anticipation to just put the ball out in space, it's a much easier play for Justin Jefferson. And so, like, I'm trying to nitpick. Yeah, there's no question. You guys are probably, man, you're really nitpicking the throw if there's some pressure in his face. Yeah, there's some nitpicking going on here. And I feel comfortable doing that because of the standard that I know J.J. McCarthy has for himself and the standard that this offense has for itself. And so, on one hand, like, the pressure definitely affected the throw. On the other hand, it is incumbent upon the quarterback to be able to arc the ball into space and give the receiver the best chance to make the play. So I just feel like one of the aspects of this is there's just a little bit of a lack of synergy. And oftentimes part of that is the lack of touch from J.J. McCarthy that still shows up. And again, like, there was a social media post in the game where, the early interception on J.J. McCarthy's first pass, I think I put on social media that pass was telegraphed. It wasn't. That was wrong by me, and I am readily here to admit when I get something wrong or see it wrong in real time. But while he didn't telegraph the pass, the fact that he couldn't get the ball up and over the defender was part of the reason the ball was tipped. And it applies just as much as it does to this crossing route. And that's the one area with J.J. McCarthy. Like, we've talked a lot about the growth, and the growth has come, or we haven't talked a lot about, but we should. The growth has come from his decisiveness in terms of where he's going with the ball, his accuracy in terms of putting the ball on the receivers and making it easy enough, and then his pocket presence and movement. In the game Sunday night, he was definitely more calm with his climbs in the pocket, with his, I said decisiveness already, but just kind of his feel and his movements. There's definitely a more sense of calm than we saw earlier in the season, especially through the rough patch following the Detroit win. So all of that is very positive. And then there are some instances of the touch, like I think about the late game TJ Hawkinson crosser kind of leaking out towards the left side. That was J.J. McCarthy applying touch to the pass, but you'd rather him apply touch toward the sideline as opposed to leading him up the field where potentially he takes a big hit or that ball is intercepted. So it's just kind of, for J.J. McCarthy, that's still an area that I'm going to be watching these last 3 games, and you guys should be watching it too because of the expectations you should have for J.J. McCarthy in the sense that, can he apply touch in certain spots? Can he get the ball up and down? Some of this stuff might require more offseason time and practice and development and trajectories, but it doesn't mean like we can't look for it or talk about it or watch it. The best, this question, why I loved it, Aaron, was you asked for the nuanced perspective. And the nuance is typically when it's going bad or the narrative is as bad as it usually probably doesn't look as bad as it feels. And then when it's going good, it probably doesn't look as good as it kind of feels as well. And so the truth is often within that. And so I think it's right to be very open in my position of the decisiveness has taken a step. The accuracy has taken a step. The pocket feel has taken a step. And the touch stuff, you see it in certain spots, and there are other times where you don't see it. And so just the hope would be that more games down the stretch does a bunch of different things. It allows him more time to kind of feel out Justin Jefferson's routes. It gives those two guys together more opportunities, and you hope that leads to results. I mean, Justin Jefferson is like 160 plus away from 1,000 yards. He's trying to become the third receiver in NFL history to have 1,000 yards in his first 6 seasons. The only other 2 guys who have done that are Mike Evans and Randy Moss. So, all this stuff is worth watching. And I will say this, and it's just worth touching on and mentioning. And another aspect of it that, like, it's just a data point that is worth mentioning among the entire nuance of the subject in general. J.J. McCarthy did not have much time in training camp to throw to Justin Jefferson because of Justin having the little hamstring situation. And so he had time to throw to Jordan Addison. He had time to throw Jalen Naylor and TJ Hawkinson. Justin Jefferson, there was just less, to use the coach's phrase, time on task to work together. And so perhaps, even though they've played a lot now throughout this season together, that is an aspect of this that is worth mentioning. But I appreciate the question, Aaron. It's really good. And for more on the entire subject and Justin Jefferson specifically, got a story coming Wednesday at The Athletic where I do my day job covering this team, where I try to take the same approach of just nuanced perspective, examples of plays, etc. because that's what we like to do over at theathletic.com. All right, next question comes from Zach Kelly. Zach Kelly, relative of Ryan Kelly, maybe, potentially, maybe not, maybe, I don't know. Haven't asked Zach. He can toss it in the comments whether he is or not. But, Zach Kelly, assuming no injury to JJ, and if they left his mechanics alone for the year, do you think the Vikings would have been in a playoff spot right now? What I would say it's possible for sure. If you think about the games that they did not have JJ McCarthy, that was the Bengals game. Obviously that was a win. The Steelers game, that was a brutal one, but offensive line stuff going on in that game. So how does JJ McCarthy look at that point? The Browns game, the team obviously won. Philly, was a close loss, and obviously the quarterback play wasn't exceptional in that game or the Chargers game. But I would say, the hope probably would have been that JJ McCarthy has enough experience at that point, and he looks like he has recently at that point in the season, and then you just rip off the Ravens and the Bears and potentially push the Packers and the Seahawks more. But I could go either way with the question, Zach. I definitely think if JJ McCarthy is playing, let's say he doesn't have the high ankle sprain and it's week 8 and JJ McCarthy is coming off of the 2 games that he's just come off of in the present, there would be a lot of hope, a lot of positivity for what for the danger that the Vikings would impose opposing teams down the back half of the season. That's kind of the one, I don't know if it's upsetting or it's tough. It's a tough aspect of where this team is right now is you feel like this defense has kind of peaked. They haven't given up or is peaking, I would say, just now. And obviously losing Jonathan Grenard really, really would hurt kind of the calculus of it. But I had a conversation with Andrew Van Ginkel after the game where it's just, if you're an opposing team, an opposing offensive staff, trying to game plan against this team right now would just be a headache. Mike Kafka up in New York right now and Jackson Dart, more prayers to those guys of the challenge that they're going to face this upcoming Sunday defensively. It feels like Harrison Smith is as healthy as he's been all season. And I definitely feel like he's flying around more. It feels like they found something a little bit using Jay Ward a little more. The linebackers have obviously played really well all season. And then Jalen Redmond's doing his thing. So what I would say is specific to Sunday against the Giants, that just doesn't really feel like that much of a fair fight. And then the tough part is, if this is a playoff game, 1 game sample, and you have Brian Flores and this defensive staff and this defensive group scheming it up, you probably could wreak havoc in a way that really strikes fear in opposing teams. So it's tough that this group isn't going to get that opportunity. But yeah, Zach, to your question, the mechanic stuff is an interesting one because it's not yes, there was a lot of talk about it, and I've gone back and forth in my head about what I think about all of the mechanics conversation. And then before the Washington game saying, it's just go play and pitch and catch. And I'd say you could look at it a bunch of ways. Does that clear JJ's mind to where he can just play, or does the focus on the mechanics early in the season get him to a place where his mechanics are more streamlined now than they would have been? I think there's a lot of ways you can spin that to fit your own narrative of they stopped talking about it, so now he's playing well. But yeah, maybe, but they also weren't playing the Commanders and Cowboys defense. And maybe just more time in NFL games settled him down. So again, a lot of ways you can probably look at that. And I just try not to be so, binary or specific in terms of because they did this, it becomes this. in a game where so many factors obviously are at play. The offensive line too, like that's another layer of JJ McCarthy's play the last 2 games. Like they've had a pretty consistent group, especially in the interior. And that's obviously a huge component of it. And Justin School, I thought, probably played his best game of the season against the Cowboys defense. So good question, Zach. Definitely think like the way the simplified way of answering this question would be if it's middle of the season and JJ McCarthy doesn't get hurt and he's playing the way he is right now, you're on NFL Live, on First Take, on all of those shows, like the Vikings would be the ultimate arrow up team that would warrant a lot of conversation among the major talking heads in the league. I truly believe that. And it wouldn't be a team that anybody would want to see. I believe that as well. Next question comes from State of Hoppy. Which is greater, 9 or 43? By 43, the reference is to Quinn Hughes, the defenseman acquired by Bill Guerin while he was making meatballs the other night, per the reporting of a lot of the scribes that I view. Who is greater? I would say, it's tough. I don't consider myself an elite hockey mind. I would say that I love the culture of hockey in this state. I think it's very, very cool. I love, the folks who are really passionate Wild fans. Like, I think it's awesome. And again, it's part of what makes this place special, not only the fandom in general, but just to have a sport like that and be as locked in, the state high school hockey tournament, the Lou Nannies of the world, like all of that, part of the culture of living here has been something I've really thought is awesome. It's something I don't take for granted while I'm here. So I try to watch a lot of this stuff. I can't give you a great scouting report of Quinn Hughes and what he's going to provide to the team, but I will say I will be watching. I can't wait to get to a game. I believe at the casino. It's no longer the Xcel Energy Center. Cool trade. Anytime you're taking a big swing like that, I'm a supporter of it. You play to win the game. You don't play to be middling or average. It's not to segue to JJ McCarthy, but like that's one aspect of the analysis of where the Vikings are as an organization that for me should not get lost is this ownership group and the front office with going with JJ McCarthy, in the draft and this season. Like this was a group, an ownership and a front office that was tired and just a little done with, okay, we're just going to be okay. We're just going to be good. We're going to get in the playoffs, but what are we really going to be able to do? Like they took the swing of to be great, to sustain winning, you must acquire a young quarterback and surround him with elite talent. That was the bet that they made, and it is a bet. Like I use that phrase strategically because bets don't always hit. Like in life, with anything you do, like there's a probability of this will work, this will go well, and there's also a probability that it won't. And so, it's just something I wanted to say. But I can't wait to watch Quinn Hughes play. Can't wait to get to a game and be near the ice. Can't wait to read the coverage at The Athletic from my colleagues, Michael Russo, Joe Smith. They do as good of a job covering that team as any beat writers on any team in the country do on any team. I really feel that way. So, great question, State of Hoppy. Appreciate you asking it. Quick word from a sponsor. I just want to shout out Unreal. They have these limited edition hoodie drops, and I've got friends clowning me for not sending them the ones that I've gotten so far. But this might be the best one. It's you got the Vikings helmet, old school. You got the skull. It is there's some like stitching, established 1961. It is it's beautiful. So Unreal, it's a locally owned company based out of St. Paul, run by I say run by good people, but like they are great. Customer service is awesome. You're not going to be upset with any product, hoodie, vest, pants. I mean, look what I've got it on right here. I've got my hat right here that I'm going to wear to minimize the look of my hair loss from a season like this one. So unreal. Please go check them out. Let's get back to the podcast. All right, next question comes from Zach S. We're going to get into the football and go back deep. I promise. Don't worry. Don't fret. Don't stay with us here on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. We're going to get back to the football, to the nitty gritty. Still got some more nuggets for you guys throughout this podcast. But the next question from Zach S. What is Snoop's set list looking like? So I've reached out to his agent, and I'm trying to – no. Look, if you didn't hear the news, at halftime of the Christmas game on December 25th, the afternoon affair between the Vikings and the Lions at U.S. Bank Stadium, Snoop Dogg will be playing having a performance, and it'll be entertaining to watch the press box, watch Snoop Dogg at halftime. It's for me. Like it'll be like if you were to watch me during Snoop Dogg as I scarf down some wings, probably at halftime of a Vikings Lions game. I mean, that's a weird sight. That's an odd sight. That's something that's it's quite interesting. But can't wait to watch Snoop. Would love to, if I had one Christmas wish list, it would be for Paul Allen and Snoop Dogg to commentate the game together for a little bit in the third quarter. I don't know I hope this gets clipped and aggregated. I don't know if we need to tag KFAN. I don't know if you need to at Paul Allen, at PA on the mic. I don't know if you need to get in touch with Snoop's agent. I don't know if it has to be the Vikings communication staff and Spearfish over there at the facility. But if we could get Snoop Dogg and Paul Allen to commentate a football game together, it would be magic. It needs to be aired live. It needs to be live streamed. The what you could make happen there would, maybe not, I don't know how long it would be okay from an FCC violation standpoint, but the entertainment factor would be one of one. So I hope this gets clipped. Purple Persuasion, whatever aggregator, Vikings fan page, whoever wants to aggregate that and put that out there and try to make that happen, please. And I don't want credit for it. I just want to enjoy the entertainment just like everybody else. So, great question. Nothing but a G thing. Drop it like it's hot, Zach. I hope those are on it. I'm going to be locked in the press box as I look at, looking at next-gen stats, listen to Snoop Dogg. What could be better than that? Seriously. I can't imagine a thing in the world. All right, next question comes from Erica. Who is a victim of the cap space this offseason? Appreciate the question, Erica. Victim made me feel bad, kind of, but it is what it is. If players are cut, I guess that's how we'll describe it. Yeah. So there are a lot of options here. I'd say the primary guys probably worth eyeing. At this point, it would say Javon Hargrave, like he could be cut. That would create probably $11 million in space for the 2026 season. Let's see here. There are a bunch of guys really, but the other options I would say, just for example purposes, not like I'm predicting this to happen, but TJ Hawkinson, if he were to be cut, potentially $9 million in cap space. Aaron Jones, $7.2 million in cap space if he's cut pre-June. Ryan Kelly, $12 million if he's cut pre-June. The Brian O'Neill contract is going to be it's an interesting one. Like his cap number for 2026 is around $23 million. Cutting him would save a bunch, but he's obviously just a core player, leader, right tackle for this organization. So we'll kind of see what happens there. I just want to mention it because the space number, like if anything, I'd expect in some ways that contract to get reworked, pushed back, extended, whatever. We'll probably talk through it at the end of the year, but wanted to mention him. But that's a good look ahead question. Erica, Minnesota Sports Doomer, which is, I was telling somebody today, I was at Milburn clothing, working on a little bit of a suit with the folks over there. They're great people, really good people. Ryan in there was helping me out, and we were talking about Minnesota sports fandom, and I just said to him, like, I want success for this fan base, Vikings, Wild, Wolves, Twins, so bad because of how good of a fan base. And I'm not like I thought the Alabama Crimson Tide fan base is great. The Kansas City Royals, when I covered the Royals, I thought they had a great fan base. But like the passion and the intensity and all of that here is special, and so you just want it to get paid off for people and maybe make everybody a little calmer, more comfortable, everything like that. But anyway, the question: what difference do you think Ryan Kelly is making to J.J. McCarthy? It's huge. I think. I mean, from a lot of different respects. I think Ryan Kelly's done a great job blocking in the run game. That helps J.J. McCarthy. He is a veteran and can see the field really, really well, which helps at the line of scrimmage. So that helps J.J. McCarthy. In pass protection, he's been really, really good. Picks up stunts, sees stuff. So that helps J.J. McCarthy. So it's all tied together. Like I said it earlier. But there's no question for me that having Donovan Jackson, Ryan Kelly, Will Fries in the interior has coincided with some of J.J. McCarthy's best play. And that's football. Like, I know it's cliche to say, but when they say it's an all-11 game, like, for as much of it is a quarterback-driven league and the narratives and what I write about is often about J.J. McCarthy and what we talk about and the guy on the picture of this podcast is always J.J. McCarthy, or usually a lot of it's J.J. McCarthy. Like, his production and his play and his success and his feel and his comfort, so much of that is predicated on the play from those guys around him and the coaching staff as well. So I just want to say that because I do think it is important and it can get lost in the lack of nuance among how much we write and talk about kind of the quarterback position. So good question there. Hope that answers that. Katie Dempsey, a frequenter of the Friday Football Feast, which I co-host on KFAN, asked, were you surprised at the outcome of the Broncos-Packers game? I was. I still haven't watched that game back, either like highlights at all or anything, but just from the look of it and listening to others, I was surprised because I didn't think Bo Nix had that in him. And by that, I mean, the playmaking, pushing the ball down the field. Like, there have been times, and I joke all the time, that going back to when Bo Nix was at Auburn, and I'm from Alabama, and so I had a bunch of friends who are big Auburn fans, and you would ask the question, they would ask the question, is Bo Nix good? And there were times where you're like, absolutely. And there are other times where you're like, not at all. And that question has kind of, accompanied his journey as a quarterback. At Oregon, he was really, really good. How much of that was them not pushing down the ball down the field? It was a question that seemed worth asking. And then in Denver, it feels like they have kept the offense pretty simplistic, not made him throw the ball down the field a ton. And so even there are games I've watched of Bo Nix this year where he's throwing interceptions and you're like, man. But then you do that against that Packers defense, and it's hard not to tip your cap to him, to that team, etc. And then obviously the Micah Parsons injury really, really has ramifications in the NFC and the NFC North for the Super Bowl, really. So Katie's asking the question because I said I thought the Packers would win, and that was a byproduct not of me picking the Packers because I like the Packers at all. It was a byproduct of being, questioning what Bo Nix would be capable of against that Jeff Hafley defense. So at some point in this week, I will go back and rewatch some of that game out of curiosity. I have not done it yet. Question comes from Mr. Minnesota at Lil Womp 247. Thoughts on giving Naylor an extension and trading Jordan Addison? What does the staff think about Ty Felton as wide receiver 3? Really good questions here. So the first one I wrote about pretty much in depth last week, the Jalen Naylor extension trading Jordan Addison conversation. From what I understand, like, I'm not sure if this has been a subject that has been thought about like in depth internally because of how much respect there is for Jordan Addison's skill set. My own opinion would be that it is something that should be, really thought about. Like, I think Jalen Nailor is going to be real. If Jalen Nailor hits free agency, when he hits free agency, he's going to be a really coveted player by a lot of teams that are good teams, and they will pay him because it's just like, if you watch the tape all season, he's been healthy. He's blocked in the run game. He's separated down the field. Doesn't have a drop this season. Like, anything and everything you'd want from a receiver. Kevin Seifert of ESPN asked Wes Phillips on Tuesday, what makes Jalen, and Wes rattled off literally every skill set that you could have as a receiver. And so, like I said, I know that there are teams that will be circling for Jalen Nailor if he's available. And then obviously with the Jordan Addison conversation, you've got the production of this year. You've got some of the off-field stuff in the past. So it's and then obviously, like, you have to decide on the 5th-year option with him. That's going to be a pretty sizable number. So he's younger, much younger than Jalen Nailor. So that's another component of it as well. Lot to sort through with it. But it's again, my opinion would be that it's something that should be considered and discussed. To the second part of the question, what does the staff think about Ty Felton as wide receiver 3? So I've said this many times on the podcast. The Vikings selected Ty Felton late in the 3rd round with the idea that he would spend this year doing what he's doing. Like, this was the plan. If they had it in their best, if the circumstances went the way they wanted them to go, it would be this. Ty Felton would make an impact as a gunner on special teams, which he's done, and he would learn all positions in the offense throughout the season, make some plays on the scout team, get some reps with the starting unit in practice, especially towards the end of the year, which he's done, and then just kind of progress from there under the tutelage of Keenan McCardell, who's obviously one of the best coaches on the Vikings staff. And that's how it's played out, which is optimal. It's optimal. The health of the receiver room has allowed Ty Felton's development to ride the timeline that the Vikings wanted it to ride. And that is rare in the NFL because of how often injuries and certain situations force guys into action. That it hasn't happened here has been good. With Ty Felton, I mean, there's no question from a athleticism, long range speed. I think, we'll see, especially come this summer, next fall, from a consistency as a pass catcher, from a separation ability at the top of routes. Like, those are the questions that we will find answers to, I believe, throughout kind of next year. And I'm looking forward to watching him do that. The drop off from going from what Jalen Nailor has done this year to that, it potentially would be immense. And then, the tight end question mark would also make that would kind of interesting as well. So, but he's like, by all accounts internally, he is a guy who really wants it, Ty Felton. He's a very aware, high aptitude guy. Like, a lot of you don't have to worry about him really off the field and all of that. So, like, high character guy. So his development will be a fascinating one with that coach in that room, given the season he's had. I'll be really curious. So it's a good question, something that I can't wait to kind of evaluate. Mac at Suits Bear asks a really good question. Which Vikings are worthy of an all-pro selection this year? I don't know why, but my mind first went to Will Reichard, and maybe that's bold for a second-year guy, and maybe I'm biased because I'm an Alabama guy who thought that the selection of him was an incredible one, considering he turned the Alabama kicking opportunity into one that was coveted and not kind of, people told Will Riker when he first decided to go to Alabama that his kicking career will end because he made that decision. And he made those people look very silly, almost out of spite, because that's the type of competitor that he is. So that's he's made, I believe it's 9 field goals of 50 plus. He's been rock solid in the kickoff phase for the most part. Just a lot of positives from Will Reichard all season. So that's where I'd go. I mean, I don't think Eric Wilson at linebacker will be he probably hasn't flashed nationally the way you'd have to, but I think his play specifically as a blitzer and sifting through the run game, I wouldn't be shocked there. Andrew DePaula, the long snapper, may or may not have a story coming on him, so stay locked in for that, but he's a guy who's been an All-Pro. He'd be one. And I don't know. I mean, maybe there's somebody I'm missing out pretty obviously, but that's kind of where my mind goes with that question. Like Jalen Redmond probably isn't an all-pro guy, but he's not just a good story. Like this guy is a phenomenal football player. You saw it again Sunday night with his ability to get off long arm blocks from Tyler Smith in the run game, who is a really good left guard in the run game. So, I thought I'd throw that in there. Let's see what else we've got. A couple more. MN Sports Talk asks, I've noticed you're a big fan, at least on Twitter, of Matt Boldy. Why is that? I mean, he's incredible. Matt Boldy, the hockey player for the Minnesota Wild. So the joke is I went with our marketing director to a Wild game last winter, I think it was, and I didn't know Boldy. Kirill wasn't in the game. He was hurt at the time. But I just watched the hockey game. I don't know much about hockey. And I'm like, that is the most talented guy on the ice. And so from then on, I'm like, anytime I watch the Wild, I love watching Matt Boldy and seeing what he does with the puck. Then I think I watched the Four Nations, and he was great in that. And so it's become a thing for me. When Matt Boldy does something great, it makes me and those around me very, very happy. If I get to meet him one day, I will be starstruck, kind of, not really, probably, maybe not at all. But I have the utmost respect for Matt Boldy and what he is and can be as a hockey player, and so cannot wait to continue to watch him with this team that Bill Guerin has constructed. Let's see here. Let's see what we've got. Kyle Godbout, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. What is going on with Christian Darrisaw? Is this normal for an ACL injury to take this long to recover fully, or is there something to worry about for his future? So, I mean, as for the future and prognosticating the Christian Darrisaw situation, like only time will tell with that. You would hope that an offseason, and it feels like the expectation internally is that an offseason where Christian Darrisaw, is able to kind of get his knee fully back, get his comfort fully back, that would allow him to be full go for until the end of time, until another injury, which hopefully doesn't happen. And that would be the expectation. But to the original question of what is going on, I mean, this season has been, it's been an interesting one from Christian Darrisaw in that conversation, that perspective. I wrote about it probably 2 months ago, and at the time, it was interesting then. I mean, Christian Darrisaw, by all accounts, over the summer and into the fall, was well ahead of schedule. His rehab was going spectacular. The Vikings didn't really set an expectation on when he would be back. And eventually Christian Darrisaw would say that like he was told it was going to take a year. But the way kind of things worked leading up to the week 1 game in Chicago, it felt like it was possible that Christian Darrisaw could be available for that game. So, like, that was a very big difference in expectations and kind of feel. Christian Darrisaw was questionable for that week 1 game. He worked out pregame in Chicago, didn't play. Then I believe he was out for the week 2 game against Atlanta. Then he played week 3 against Trey Hendrickson and Cincy and played in that game. Then I believe the Pittsburgh game, can't even remember or recall what the situation was there. Then he played in week 5 in London, but took himself out of that game against the Cleveland Browns. And it's just been like that back and forth, questionable. Most of the season he hasn't practiced on Thursdays. Then there have been some days where he practiced in limited fashion on Friday. Some days he didn't practice on Wednesday. To follow it all has been a whirlwind, certainly. But injuries are really interesting. Like, there are some guys who will play through anything, even if there is a potential that they feel something nagging that potentially would affect them long term. And then there are other guys who refuse to do that. And certain guys have certain thresholds of what they'll play through and what they're comfortable with. And so with Christian and his situation, it's just been very unique to him. And I don't use the word unique because we throw it around a lot, but it really means singular. And that's just what Christian Darrisaw's situation is. I mean, Kevin O'Connell on Monday of this week said there was some swelling that, last week that prevented Christian from, feeling like he could give it a go throughout the full week of practice, and obviously didn't play Sunday night in the game. So, a lot of people have said they should shut him down in the offseason. I can understand that perspective. But then again, I mean, he is probably close to 400 days removed from the torn ACL, MCL. And it was a very serious injury. It was traumatic at the time for everybody, really, because of how important that he is. And so, I mean, the hope would just be that, whether he plays again the rest of the season, regardless, that you go into next year feeling comfortable and confident that the franchise left tackle that it's really, really hard to find in this league, that you've got him at his utmost, at his best, at his most, ready to give you everything he's got. Like that's what I'd say. But it's been a wild one to follow. And if I, or probably anyone, gave you a perspective on if they think that he'll play this upcoming weekend or in the rest of the season, you'd probably be hard pressed to find the factual answer to that, just given the nature of how this thing has gone throughout the year. Last one from Eric Berg on game day. What does your post-game timeline look like? Do you immediately go to the coaches and quarterback press conference? Do you go to the locker room first? Do you write your story in the press box? So at The Athletic, we do like a little quick hitters right at the buzzer and post that on The Athletic, quick takeaways after the game. So I write that throughout the fourth quarter, and then the game ends, and you go down and you go in the locker room. Then you're in the locker room until Kevin O'Connell is ready to go to the podium. So you're talking to players bouncing around, some guys on the record, some guys off the record, whatever kind of floats your boat from what happened in the game. Then you go to the Kevin O'Connell press conference. Then J.J. McCarthy comes to the press conference. And then you go back in the locker room, see who's still available, have more conversations, and then go back up to the press box and begin the writing portion of the evening. So to give you probably a ballpark, if a game is at 3 o'clock, if a game's at noon, the game ends at 3, you go down to the locker room, you probably get back up around 4:15, and then you spend the next 3 hours probably writing and get home and recover and get ready to run it back the following week. And that is the part of the job that is fun, that you love, the adrenaline of what those game days are. I don't take for granted. So, appreciate the question, Eric, and that hopefully gives you a little bit of the perspective. I'll end it by just reiterating. Need to get Paul Allen and Snoop Dogg on the call together, please. Or get Snoop Dogg on the Paul Allen show. Like, just help me out, okay, please. But yeah, that'll do it for the for this episode of the Alec Lewis Show. One thing I will mention that I didn't early in this show is that we are also sponsored by Unreal, and they have limited edition hoodies throughout each season. This is the latest one. I mean, it is beautiful, really. A beautiful hoodie. They got the skull right there. So please go check that out. The information is in the description below. But Unreal, locally owned clothing brand. They do these limited edition drops with, just the most high-end athleisure that you're going to find. So Unreal. The show is presented by First Resource Bank. Their information is in the description below. You can set up an account with them very quickly, very easily, and it's a local banking operation that will treat you very, very well. Stories at The Athletic. So stay tuned for those. A lot to come over the next few weeks. And with that, we will talk to you guys very, very soon.